Alright, the other day we talked about and I made an entire video about a new reported starting lineup for the Lakers. That starting five including Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, LeBron James, Rui Hachimura, and DeAndre Ayton. Ayton obviously being the only difference with that, replacing Jackson Hayes and therefore making it a slightly different and new starting lineup. But that's not the only part of this report. And this is coming from Lakers Daily if I didn't mention, getting it from a different source, so either believe it or don't believe it, that's up to you, but I'm definitely not going to tell you that it's confirmed and this is the guaranteed lineup for them, but I probably would agree with it and say that's most likely option for them. I mean, I wouldn't call it their best option and best fitting lineup in my opinion, but I probably would say it's the most likely one. That being from the fact that it's kind of the continuation of their old starting lineup, Reddit kind of going that road last season, continuing with their 2023-24 starting lineup and letting them actually try to continue it and not immediately replace it, letting them run with the D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis combination, but eventually replacing it after about 10 games in. And well, I think that probably will happen again, but that's not the only part about this report. Not only is it confirming or I guess kind of reporting about the starting lineup, but about their entire rotation, which happens to hint at a 10-man rotation, the second unit including Gabe Vincent, Marcus Smart, Jared Vanderbilt, Jake LaRavia, and Jackson Hayes, therefore leaving out guys like Dalton Knecht, a previous rotation player for their team, Adou Thiero, their only draft pick in the 2025 NBA draft, and Maxi Kleber, a longtime rotation member for the Mavericks and a longtime teammate for Luka Doncic. So with that in mind here, is that the best option for them to take? Should they run a 10-man rotation? Should they maybe expand it to an 11 or 12-man rotation? Or maybe even cut it down to a 9-man rotation? We'll talk about that, how it fits, the minute distribution or maybe potential distribution, and simply about this report and if this would be their best 10-man rotation in general. So we'll talk about all of that and try to break it all down here. And well, I guess starting with the guys that didn't make the cut, again that being Dalton Knecht, Adou Thiero, and Maxi Kleber. Also could throw in Christian Koloko and Bronny James if you want to, but really pointing to the three of Knecht, Thiero, and Kleber, and really the two of both Knecht and Kleber. You know, I'm not going to say that they're never going to get playing time, but I probably would agree that they might be on the outside looking in at this current moment. Now obviously that could and likely will change throughout the season when somebody ahead of them gets hurt and therefore they become the injury replacement. For Dalton Knecht, that could be anyone from Marcus Smart, Jake LaRavia, Gabe Vincent, all of which have dealt with injuries in the past few years now and that could be a pathway to playing time for him. Or then for Maxi Kleber, I mean if he himself can stay healthy, if a guy like Jared Vanderbilt gets hurt, even somebody like Jackson Hayes or DeAndre Ayton, both of which missed at least 20 games last season or more, then he could obviously have a bigger part of the rotation and get more playing time too. But to even talk about their future with the team and potential in the rotation, again I wouldn't call them an every game member of the rotation, not a viable pathway to playing time in every matchup, but I think they will be in there sometimes. Whether it's a bigger team where Maxi Kleber might play some power forward for them, or a smaller team where they need more defensive versatility and he would be a better option to play center for them, I think that would be the road to playing time for him, even without an injury or something happening to their team to where he gets more playing time or becomes a better option for them. And then for Dalton Knecht, I probably wouldn't point to that as much for him, but I would maybe point to guys that maybe underperform ahead of him. Maybe Gabe Vincent doesn't play well for a bit, maybe Marcus Smart doesn't get back to the player that he was pre-injury and therefore there becomes an opportunity for Dalton Knecht. That's probably what I point to more with him, unfortunately, as I would like to see him develop and obviously needs playing time to develop. And then I guess for Adou Thiero, I think he probably has the last bit of the cut to playing time between the three. Definitely not as much compared to even those two, and those two are going to be in and out of the rotation. I think in some matchups, and obviously again if somebody gets hurt like a Jared Vanderbilt, then there could be a pathway to playing time for Adou Thiero. But at this point he's probably viewed as more of a development piece to them, a guy they want to have spent time in the G League and develop a bit more before they give him a real opportunity in the rotation, and that's probably the early outlook for Adou Thiero. Though I wouldn't be entirely opposed to him getting some minutes in situational matchups, maybe a matchup where they need a big athletic defender like Adou Thiero. I mean, he is roughly 6'7" and has a 42-inch vertical to go with it, so that could be an option when they need a spark or simply a bigger defender again. Overall though, I probably would agree for the most part with this 10-man rotation. The kind of last three being in are probably Gabe Vincent, Jared Vanderbilt, and Jackson Hayes in my opinion. Those three probably getting the least amount of playing time in the rotation, and if I had to go a minute distribution with it, for the guys like LeBron and Luka anyways, they're going to get the most minutes, obviously. Probably between 35 to 37 per game for Luka Doncic, then probably 33 for LeBron James, then Austin getting about 33 to 35, Rui Hachimura getting roughly 29 to 32, DeAndre Ayton probably getting roughly 28, maybe 30 depending on the matchup, but probably averaging out to about 28 per game. Then for the second unit, I'd say that at least early on and to begin with, Marcus Smart will be their sixth man off the bench, probably getting between 20 to 24 minutes per game off the bench. Then for their seventh man, that's really a toss-up in my opinion. Could be Jake LaRavia in some matchups, could be a Jared Vanderbilt in some matchups, but if we average it out throughout the entire season and given that he stays healthy, I probably would point to Jake LaRavia. Him being the most versatile option and the closest thing they have to a 3-and-D wing at this point, I think he'll probably get around 19 to 22 minutes per game, maybe more, maybe less, all depending on how he plays and how he fills that role for their team, but there definitely is a very real pathway to playing time for him. After that, probably Jared Vanderbilt, getting somewhere between 15 to 17 minutes per game. Then last but not least, I'd point to Jackson Hayes. If Ayton's not playing well or if he's hurt, this will obviously go up for him, but at this current moment, probably between 10 to 15 minutes per game off the bench. Then for guys like Dalton Knecht and Maxi Kleber, again, they probably won't be in their every game, at least not to begin with, but they'll probably average out to 8 to 10 minutes per game for Dalton Knecht. Then for Kleber, probably 5 to 8 minutes per game right away. Maybe that could climb up to 8 to 10 per game as well, but again, with this current 10-man rotation and with Redick even running a 9-man rotation, that's probably the early outlook for the rotation. However, that is not me saying that it should be that way and that there shouldn't be any changes to it eventually. Yes, again, I think it probably will start that way, but I think roughly 10 to 15 games in, there probably will and probably should be a change too. I mean, maybe not a dramatic change to the minute distribution. I'm simply talking about a rotation change and probably a starting lineup change too. In my opinion, and you probably heard me talk about it, so I won't go on too big of a tangent with it again, but I would look to make a change and add more defense and kind of balance out the rotation. To their starting lineup, I'd replace Rui Hachimura or Austin Reaves with either one of Marcus Smart or Jared Vanderbilt. I'd use the 10 games that they likely will keep the same starting lineup to evaluate it, use the time to see which one of Hachimura or Reaves might actually benefit from that change, which of them are playing better, which of them are playing worse, also the same with both Smart and Vanderbilt, if they can even stay healthy, and then which of them would be a better fit and are showing it on the court. I'd use that time to evaluate that, then make the switch thereafter. Or I guess if they don't need the switch and one of Hachimura or Reaves miraculously becomes a better defender and can actually fill that role for their team, then great, then they don't need it. But I really doubt that'll happen. I think sooner rather than later they will have to make a change. Again, that being the defensive option in their starting lineup. Neither one of Reaves or Hachimura can fill that role for their team, so likely it will have to be either Marcus Smart or Jared Vanderbilt eventually stepping into that role and kind of balancing out the rotation. So that would be a change that I would look to eventually make. Again, I'd give their starting five or their current starting five the opportunity to maintain it, I guess. I don't believe that they'll be able to and that they will eventually have to make a change, and that would be the one that I'd personally go with. Again, swapping either Rui Hachimura or Austin Reaves, and probably Hachimura here, with one of Marcus Smart or Jared Vanderbilt. But apart from that, I probably wouldn't pinpoint another change I'd make. I actually probably would agree with a 10-man rotation. This would be the 10 I'd start with, but it definitely could be open to a change coming with it as well. If one of Gabe Vincent, Jake LaRavia, even maybe a Jared Vanderbilt or Marcus Smart don't play that well, then there could be an opportunity for them to be replaced. Now I'm definitely not hoping for that, and I don't really see that coming. Definitely not for one of Marcus Smart or Jared Vanderbilt, probably not even Jake LaRavia. But if there's a cold streak for any one of them, and really pointing to Gabe Vincent here, then there could be an opportunity for a Dalton Knecht or maybe an Adou Thiero to step in and take some minutes from him, or any of them for that fact too. That would probably be the main battle I'd look at here, kind of for that 10th spot, whether it comes down to Gabe Vincent or a Dalton Knecht. JJ Redick really likes both of them in my opinion, really has talked well of both Gabe Vincent and Dalton Knecht in very different ways, I might add. Vincent obviously being one of the defensive-minded players in their team and guys that really gets after it on defense, And that's kind of the polar opposite for Dalton Knecht. You know, Redick often talking about how Knecht needs to play harder on defense and needs to get better on that end of the court. But then on the other side, he has talked glowingly about Knecht's offensive ability, his three-point shooting ability. I think even saying that he's in the top 1% of shooters in the entire world, so definitely has a lot of confidence in Dalton Knecht. Would obviously like to have him in the rotation if Knecht makes him confident enough to add him back in there and maybe eventually have him back in there permanently. I think there could be a pathway for Dalton Knecht, and Redick wouldn't be opposed to it either. Again, not saying he'll never see the court for their team, but as of right now, I think he is on the outside looking in. I think it probably will be a 10-man rotation, with both Dalton Knecht, Adou Thiero, and even Maxi Kleber kind of on the outside looking in. So with all of that being said here, what do you guys think? How do you feel about this report and it hinting at a 10-man rotation for the Lakers, which includes a bench unit of Gabe Vincent, Marcus Smart, Jake LaRavia, Jared Vanderbilt, and Jackson Hayes? How do you feel about that? Do you agree with it? Disagree with it? What changes would you personally make, if any, to the rotation? How would you distribute their minutes in the rotation? And simply, how do you feel about it in general? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one. And if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.